In the world of IT, what's the one skill that really separates the good from the great? It's not just about how much you know technically. It's about judgment. It's about knowing what truly matters when everything starts blinking red. And today, we're going to break down exactly how you can master that.
So let me ask you a question. Picture this. It's a normal Tuesday afternoon. You're at your desk, and suddenly, two alerts hit your queue at the exact same moment. You can only work on one of them first, so which one do you pick?
So, let's break this down, right? On one hand, you've got issue A. It's a real headache. One single user is totally blocked. And this could be one of those deep, complicated profile corruption things that takes you hours to fix. But then there's issue B. It seems kind of minor, right? A 10-second delay. But here's the kicker. It's affecting everybody. Hundreds, maybe thousands of people are losing just a little slice of their day over and over again. So what do? The complex fix for one person or the simple fix that helps everyone? How you answer that? Well, that pretty much defines your career path in this business. And that brings us to the single most important mindset shift you can make as an IT professional. See, it's so easy to get caught up in the technical challenge, right? The drama of a really frustrating bug, or just whoever's yelling the loudest. But in a professional environment, severity is measured by one thing, and one thing only: impact. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by really locking in that professional mindset. Then I'm going to give you a super simple 4-step framework you can use every single day. We'll dig into some of the subtle details that the real pros always look for, and then we'll tie it all together and show you how this way of thinking can literally transform your career. So let's get into it. All right, let's start with the first big idea. We have to completely unlink the idea of technical complexity from operational seriousness. They are just not the same thing. And here we see it in action. That corrupted Excel profile for one user? Yeah, it's technically complex. It's a fun puzzle for you to solve. But for the business as a whole, it's a tiny problem. Meanwhile, that slow login, which might just be a simple fix, that is a massive operational issue. Just think about it. Multiply 10 seconds by 1,000 employees, maybe logging in 5 times a day, you are literally losing hours and hours of company productivity. That's the real difference between complexity and seriousness. So the real way to measure how serious something is isn't about how much effort it takes you, it's about how much pain the business is feeling. You measure it by asking, how big is the blast radius? We call that scope. Is it hitting a really critical team? That's business impact. Could this thing cause a domino effect and create an even bigger failure? That's risk. And frankly, is this just making the whole IT department look bad? That's reputation. Okay, so we've got the mindset down. But, theory is pretty useless when you're in the middle of a crisis. You need a practical tool, a mental checklist you can run through when the pressure's on. So let's build that framework right now. Here it is. This is your 4-step framework for professional judgment: scope, business impact, duration, and risk. By asking yourself these 4 simple questions, in this order, you can cut right through the noise and figure out how serious any issue really is. First up is scope. Think of it like triage in an emergency room. Are you dealing with a paper cut on one person's finger, a broken arm in one department, or a heart attack that's affecting the entire organization? Your very first job is to figure out just how many people are feeling the pain. Second is business impact. And this is so important because it shows why context is absolutely everything. An issue affecting the test lab team at 6 o'clock at night is one thing. But the exact same technical issue that's locking out the entire finance team during their month-end closing, well, that's a completely different universe of seriousness. Who is affected matters just as much as how many. Third, we look at the duration and the trajectory of the problem. Is this just a one-time glitch, or is it sticking around? And this is key. Is it getting worse? A problem that's small but growing is often way more dangerous than a bigger problem that's stable. You have to think like a storm chaser. Where is this thing headed? And finally, risk. This is where you put on your architect hat and you start thinking about the dominoes. You have to ask yourself, okay, if this piece falls, what else is going to fall with it? A small problem in a core system, something like authentication, is like a tiny crack in a dam. It might not look like much right now, but it has the potential to cause a total system collapse down the line. So once that 4-part framework becomes second nature to you, you start to operate on a whole other level. You begin to see the subtle patterns, the little things that separate the good admins from the truly great ones. Let's talk about those nuances. First and foremost, security. A security-related issue is always, and I mean always, serious.
It doesn't matter if not a single person has complained. It doesn't matter if there's no visible impact at all. The risk is silent, and it's built in, which means these kinds of issues are an immediate, drop everything priority.
Now, let's talk about the silent killer, degradation. An outage is a loud, screaming crisis, right? It gets all the attention. But degradation? Man, that is a slow poison. It's the lag, the glitch, that little spinning wheel. It doesn't cause a panic. It just causes 1,000 tiny frustrations every single day that slowly convince the entire company that IT is slow. And that erosion of trust is often way harder to fix than any broken server. And finally, there's the art of telling the difference between noise and a real signal. See, every system creates noise. Little random glitches, minor bugs. You can't panic at every little thing. But sometimes a small issue is actually a signal. It's a warning flare that a much bigger problem is on the horizon. Learning to tell the difference is just crucial. Chasing noise wastes your time, but ignoring a signal can lead to a disaster.
So why does all of this matter so much? Because mastering this kind of judgment is what separates the people who just fix tickets from the people who lead teams. This is the direct path from a technical role to a strategic one. Think about it this way. The operator, the technician, their first question is always, how do I fix this? Their focus is on the tactical solution, right now. But the architect, the leader, they ask a different question first. What does this affect? Their focus is on the strategic impact. And that one little shift in perspective, it's everything.
And this is the real career payoff. Every single time you correctly identify the most serious issue, you're doing so much more than just fixing a problem. You are demonstrating your value. You're building credibility. That credibility earns you trust from your teammates and from your leadership. And that trust is what gives you a voice, what gives you influence, and ultimately, it's what puts you on the path to leadership. This isn't just a technical skill, it's a career rocket ship. So let's bring this all home with a simple, powerful idea. When an alarm goes off, your job isn't to run around in a panic. Your job is to stop, take a breath, and assess the situation with clarity and with structure. So the next time an urgent ticket hits your queue, just take a breath and ask yourself that one simple question. Is this a technical puzzle or is this a business problem? Answering that question correctly is what will set you apart. It's what transforms you from someone who just fixes things into someone who provides real value. Now go be that professional.
Hi everyone. First of all, thank you for watching this video. My name is Naresh. I am the content creator behind this YouTube channel. I have created a community for Citrix learners where I will be posting a lot of details on Citrix products and how to work in Citrix environments. I'm going to mention the link in the video description so you can click on that link and you can become part of the community. All right, see you soon. Bye bye.